That was a crow.
This is a video about Crow Country, or Crow County as I keep mistakenly calling it. It's a really cool retro survival horror game with some deeper layers that I want to peel back.
I am all about going deeper with the games I love, so let's do this one.
I really can't give enough of a spoiler warning for this video, because in order to make my points here, we have to quickly rattle off the entire plot of Crow Country, including the twists. You should probably play it for yourself first, but if you want a little teaser before I get into the spoilers, I got you. Let me give you the elevator pitch so that you can decide if this is even a game for you to begin with. Like I said at the top, Crow Country is a survival horror game. It's got all the sudden jump scares and subtle creepy moments you could want, along with some truly clever and inventive puzzles. One of my personal favorites is this circular hedge maze, which requires you to activate different symbols on the pedestals to reach the center. The maze is found in the Witchwood, one of Crow Country's several theme park experiences. You see, Crow Country isn't just the name of the game, it's also the name of the amusement park where the game is set.
Creepy old abandoned theme park? Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good backdrop.
The park is divided into a few sections, like Fairy Tale Town, Haunted Hilltop, Ocean Kingdom, and a futuristic cosmic cosmos that was never completed. Each one features its own collection of rides, though as an aside, I do have to question who's actually bringing their kids to this weird place. I mean, what kind of ride literally serves you poison mushrooms? Anyway, the setting is really well done, and the low polygon art style brings a lot of classic survival horror games to mind. The PS1/N64 look makes me think of games like Dino Crisis, Silent Hill, and of course, Resident Evil. Crow Country also has some off-grid areas for employees only, including an extra mysterious underground section. I've talked before about how Resident Evil loves its underground labs, so the influences here are very clear. Now, I'm not going to say anything else about the underground just yet. This is your last chance to dip before the spoilers start.
Okay, are you ready for the full plot of Crow Country? Strap in.
We're going to do this snapshot style. Here we go. At some point in the past, a young Edward Crow and his father went camping and discovered some metallic tubes containing gold. The game refers to these tubes as the Roots. Some years later, Edward Crow built the Crow Country theme park on top of the Roots to cover up what he discovered. Furthermore, he shipped the gold to and from Brazil so he could pretend it was coming from a mine there.
Outra desculpa para mostrar meu português. Então,
the Roots grew out of a mysterious pool. It didn't take long before some mutants, which Crow called guests, started emerging from the pool. A little girl named Elaine visited Crow Country with her family, but she was hospitalized after being bitten by one of these guests. The incident eventually caused the park to be shut down. Fast forward to 1990, and Special Agent Mara Forrest arrives at Crow Country to investigate. As you can probably guess, Mara is actually Elaine in disguise, and she's here to confront Crow about the incident and get her revenge. As she explores the park, she encounters some other people tied into its history for one reason or another. We'll talk about those characters as we go, but that's the quick version of the plot you need to know before we get to the meat of this video. It's the Cliff's Notes version, of course. All of that stuff is revealed in the game, but at a much slower pace and in a different order. Now that you know the basic plot and its twists, we can turn our eyes to that shiny, shiny gold. There's a good reason you encounter your first pair of enemies right next to a chest of gold ore. The gold is literally there in and under the park, but it also serves as a metaphor and as a motivator behind the moral lessons the game is trying to teach. This hallway also contains a court summons for the incident involving Elaine, so it's clear from the beginning of the game that there's something deeper going on here, something under the surface of the park, something within the heart of a greedy man. And from there, Crow Country has some lessons that it wants to teach us. The first layer we can peel back is the story of the literal gold. Even before you reach the roots below, you can see gold on the surface of the park. There are employees-only rooms where the ore is being processed. Or I guess it's unprocessed in this case, since Crow and his lackey Marvin shipped the gold to and from Brazil to make it look like it was dug up there instead. There are little sprinkles of gold throughout the puzzles and weapons too. You'll find bronze, silver, and gold keys to unlock various doors inside the park. Upgrade your Magnum, and it'll get some shiny gold plating. Now, you don't need me to tell you that gold does not grow in green metallic tubes called roots. In the real world, it's found in mineral deposits and as free-floating nuggets and flakes. Gold is naturally occurring, but the roots under Crow Country are definitely not.
By the way, there's one more twist I haven't talked about yet, so here it is.
The roots and the pool they come from are actually a time machine. Yeah, so the guests that emerge aren't just mindless zombies, they're humans from the future. As that future gets more and more uninhabitable, the guests look more and more mutated and monstrous. Sometimes they arrive as little blobs of goo or barnacle-covered giants. And that number you've been seeing around the park, 2106, it's not a password for any of the keypads. It's the dying message of the guests, written in their own blood. That's the year they're traveling back from, to warn us that this harvesting of the golden roots is literally killing the future. Remember how Crow Country's future zone was never completed before the park shut down? Surprise, that's another metaphor. There are a lot of symbols in the game, and the next one I want to talk about is a classic old wives' tale. There's a factoid that crows like to steal shiny things. Soulsborne fans know what I'm talking about.
Give me warm, give me soft.
This isn't actually true, but the myth is still common today. Common enough that it's used symbolically in this game. The connection here is a little on the nose. The park founder's name is literally Crow. Edward Crow discovered a supply of gold, an obviously shiny thing, and it became his lifelong obsession. He coated his office door with the stuff. He had a gold statue cast in his deceased wife's likeness. And of course, he continued to tear the gold out of the roots, even when he knew it was harming people. Oh yes, Edward knew. When you finally confront the man himself, you can see just how much the roots and their pool have corrupted him. This is the physical toll that his greed has taken upon his body. In his mind, this serves as some sort of penance. As it turns out, the very first guest that emerged from the pool warned him about his actions with a crudely written note. We can read it for ourselves in the final moments of the game. 2106, uninhabitable ruin. We come 1988, last chance. Warn, stop, change. As Crow confesses, he ignored the warning, and he fled from the additional guests that emerged from the pool. He continued to exploit the roots for gold, knowing full well that he was dooming the future to that uninhabitable ruin. And it's not just the future that's being hurt here. Things in the present are also dangerous because of Crow's actions. I'm not referring to the park hazards or the guests. I'm talking about the other people Elaine encounters along the way. Marvin is particularly scummy. He's got mob enforcer vibes, and he's there to tie up loose ends, aka shoot a police officer, kidnap a lawyer, and try to stop anyone else from learning the truth about the park. He's really dangerous. Oh, well, I guess that takes care of that.
And now we'll talk about those other NPCs.
Elaine, or Mara as we know her for most of the game, exists as a counter to everything Crow did. She's there to right a wrong, to be the equal and opposite reaction to Crow's greedy actions. So while his mining operation caused future global harm, Elaine can actually do good in the present. This is the third layer we can examine. It's the famous golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Yes, Elaine is there for revenge, but there's an opportunity to do good and help other people along that path. The first is Arthur Mole, a journalist who came to investigate the park. By helping him back to your car, you can ensure that he'll get out of here safely. Well, more or less. I'll say a little more about that in a moment. Then there's Julie, a lawyer who's going after Crow for Elaine's hospital incident, although strangely enough, they don't seem to already know each other when they meet in the park. Julie is also the one whom Marvin kidnaps, twice, but as long as you help her out both times, she'll make it out of the park alive. Then there's Tolman, who used to run the root excavation under the park, as well as Edward Crow's daughter Natalie. With the exception of Marvin, all of these individuals can be saved if you make the right choice. Oh, not the cop either. He always dies for plot reasons. Sucks for that guy. By the time you confront Crow and face his mutated form in the pool, gee, who could have seen that coming, you will be given 5 antidotes to cure those who've been infected in the park. That's one for Elaine herself, plus enough for every NPC you could have saved. This happy ending is only possible if you follow that golden rule and help the others. It's the opposite of what Crow did. He killed the human race in the future. You're saving strangers in the present. So, we have 3 layers with 3 different lessons. The literal gold shows us how exploiting natural resources can hurt future generations. In this instance, it made their world uninhabitable and turned everyone into time-traveling monsters. The old wives' tale about crows and shiny things further highlights the harm caused by greed. Edward Crow's obsession was so great that it overrode any desire to do the right thing, even when he was explicitly warned by the first guest. So how do we combat that? By following the golden rule. That's what Elaine's actions can teach us. Taking the time to help others brings about the happy ending. What I love about art, video games specifically, and horror games even more specifically, is how we can project these meanings onto them. There is often both clear and subtle symbolism at play, meaning there are lessons the developers don't want us to miss, and smaller nuggets of truth that we can pick up on individually. For example, I see the different sections of the park as representing the various biomes that were harmed in the future, but I admit that might be pushing it for this video. What can't be argued, however, is the harm that the gold and greed caused in the world of Crow Country. If we want our own happy ending, we have to mimic Elaine and help others, instead of being laser focused on the shiny temptations in front of us. Maybe then, everything will be okay.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video, and huge thank you to my wife for putting all this together for me. If you like what I'm doing here on Framework, please hit that subscribe button in the middle. It would help me out an awful lot if you do. And if you want to see the stuff I've already cooked up, you can hit that link on the far left. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.